Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. As Nigerians celebrate Christmas, a season of peace, hope, and goodwill, the country is also closing one of its most turbulent years in recent memory. 2025 has tested Nigeria on multiple fronts. Talk about persistent insecurity and violence in parts of the country, deep economic concerns despite reform promises, as well as troubling international optics, including the U.S. designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over allegations of religious persecution, including claims of genocide against Christians, allegations the Nigerian government strongly disputes. Against this backdrop, President Tinubu has now delivered his Christmas message to Nigerians. It's a speech heavy on reassurance, pledging religious freedom. It talked about unity, tolerance, and renewed engagement with faith leaders. But beyond the warm words and spiritual undertones, Nigerians are asking tougher questions tonight. How do words translate to protection on the ground? Has the government done enough to stem the concerns raised about faith-based violence? And how does Nigeria repair its global image now while managing its complex religious diversity at home? I'm joined on the show today by Ambassador Olusegun Samaye, who's Ambassador of Goodwill to the state of Georgia, U.S. Is a faith leader, public policy voice, cybersecurity analyst with the Georgia state government. And it seems a bridge figure between Nigeria's religious community and the American policy environment. Ambassador Samaye, thank you for joining us on the program tonight. I can't hear you from here. Perhaps you need to unmute your mic so that we can get this conversation on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you as well.
And I wish you Merry Christmas and your family.
Thank you so much. Wish you the same. President Tinubu's Christmas message strongly touched on areas like peace, religious freedom, and unity. Given the year Nigeria has had, what stood out to you most and what felt missing?
Well, thank you again. First and foremost, I think the Nigerian president has done the needful by that statement, reassuring Nigerians of his efforts to resolve the problems that we're having in the country. But most importantly is the issue of security, because as you know, the primary function of any government is the security of lives and property and protection of it all and its territorial boundary. And this stands out, without which you can't actually have a country, and nothing can really thrive. Businesses can't thrive, and there'll be fear, and we won't be able to have the guaranteed freedom that we all, envisage to have, including the religious freedom. So that I think that we need to have, the government needs to actually do more, in addressing that issue in 2026.
The president was quoted in that speech, in that press release, to have said that no one, regardless of ethnicity or belief, should be made to suffer for practicing their faith. How far is Nigeria today from that ideal?
Well, like I said, it's a reassuring statement, but there needs to be more action to back it up. We're living in fear. There's no doubt about it. If you go to the South, Kaduna, you go to Plateau states, really people worshiping and living, freely and peacefully. The answer to that question is no. And so the government needs to do more by ensuring that the citizens were protected and business are thriving under a secured environment. You see, the spate of killings, the banditry that we have in the country is unprecedented compared to the previous years. And that is not to say that the government is not doing its best, but I think the best is not enough. So I just came from Jos uh, on Monday, and where I witnessed the mass burial of the 12 people that were killed in Jos in Plateau State. It sends a kind of fear to a lot of people, and also to the religious circle. So there is need to reassure people of their religious freedom, and also giving them the platform to have connection to their country and also uphold that identity.
Let's confront the elephant in the room, Ambassador. The United States this year designated Nigeria a country of particular concern, citing allegations of religious persecution and what it called genocide against Christians. From your experience in the U.S. policy environment, how damaging is this label to Nigeria?
One thing that I know is that before the government of the United States could come out and make such a very emphatic statement, it must have a very credible evidence and intelligence report to that. Now, how damaging it is, it's a questions of whether that is true or is not. And it's only provable with credible data. And this is where I think the federal government of Nigeria needs to be very, very responsive, not just only defending it because it's obvious, but they must come up with data. Where these incidences are taking place, the killings, the banditry, the kidnapping. We have the one in Eruku in Kwara State, the other one in Ejembi in Kogi State, and of course the recent one in Plateau Jos. In Southern Kaduna, we have several series of it, and in the Northeast. So we should be able to credibly, be able to supply the data to really match up. Now, when it comes to the issue of genocide, is the question of semantic. If you say killing, of course, you can't deny the facts. It's our country. So we must own up to it. And it's moral for any government to do that. That's, of course, we are facing insurgency, we are facing security threats, and we are witnessing killings, and majorly in vast Christian community, Christian-based communities. So, and we need to also reassure the governments of the United States that efforts are underway to combat these issues. It's moral for us to do that, and reassuring for the citizens of Nigeria as well.
Are you saying you don't believe this U.S. designation reflects a misunderstanding of our security challenge, as government says that it's multidimensional, it is deeply criminal, that affects Nigerians of different faiths?
Absolutely not. Like I said initially, before the United States government could come up with such an emphatic statement, it means that they have credible information and credible data to rely on. Most especially for the president of the free world to come out and designate Nigeria in such a manner is troubling, no doubt about it, but it's not far from the truth. See, you've been witnessing killings, and mostly Christian-based communities. We've been witnessing banditry attacks in churches. And that is not to say that the Muslims or other faiths are not affected. Okay, so the only issue I have is I have problem with is the use of genocide. So, and I think I will leave that to the linguistics to determine that. It's a question of semantics. Are there killings in Nigeria? Well, yes. we're having a spate of killings. So if that is matched up to genocide, I take it. What is most important for us as a government or as a nation is to come out and confront, the problem. We can't run away from it. We can't deny it. That is the moral thing to do. We must own it up and then be able to reassure the citizens of Nigeria that the government is tackling these issues on a daily basis. And we have to do that.
You know that government insists insecurity is criminal and not religious, and that even in its engagement with the U.S., that remains its stance. There are conversations like, school of thoughts like you hold that when attacks repeatedly target faith communities, how does the state convincingly separate criminality from religious persecution? But we've also heard President Tinubu reference engagements with leaders of both major faiths. Beyond meetings of this nature and communiques that we've had to read, what should meaningful government-faith collaboration actually look like in our own current situation?
Yes, and they must come together to provide, a lasting solutions in terms of dialogue, um, uh, downgrade the rhetorics, sermons, messages, and provide a much more goodwill and peaceful messages across, the faith lines. And more so, they must tactically be involved in trying to dialogue with the insurgents or the banditries. The bandits. So let me give an example. Who are those committing this act of terror or the act of killings, and kidnappings? From all statistical data, we've labeled Boko Haram mostly is a Muslim-based, designated terrorist group. ISWAP, is also an Islamic, based organization, and those banditries, mostly, also Muslims. And you look at the areas where they are actually, attacking. So not the government institution. They are attacking communities, invading communities, devastating communities, destroying lives and properties, and it's been, going on and on and on like that. So, so leaders of both faiths must come together to finding a way of how to end this problem. And one of the ways is one, like I said, massive education and training and empowerment, for jobless youths, and tone down the rhetorics, on their pulpits, the rhetorics of hate, but be replaced with rhetorics of peace and peaceful coexistence. So that is what we need, and that is what is going to, make our country better.
Let's take a breath there and we'll be back with more on this conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Ambassador Olusegun Samaye is Ambassador of Goodwill for the state of Georgia, United States of America. Thank you for staying the course on the program this evening. You're a Christian leader and considered an international faith voice. From where you sit today, do you think that the Christian community in Nigeria is being heard, or merely managed by government?
Not fully. The Christian Association of Nigerian President, Reverend Oko, has engaged government several times on the issue of security as it borders on, the Christians. And it really affects our religious freedom. You couldn't hold services at night in a free country, in a democratic country. And if you do that under fear. And so if that is still going, then our voices are not heard yet. So you want to hold a mass, open air program, you have to procure your own security. So it's just how devastating it is. So I think that the government is listening, but our voices is not fully heard.
We had the president today praise Christians for caring for the vulnerable and also promoting peace. Is government adequately supporting faith-based organizations already filling gaps in areas like security, welfare, and social cohesion?
To some extent, yes, the government is trying. We can't deny the facts. Like I said earlier on, the government is doing its best, but the best isn't enough, yet until the problem is fully solved. So the government has been partnering with Christian-based organizations in, supporting our program in social investments, women and children and youth empowerment, all across the states. So yes, at every level of government, the states, the local government, and even the federal government have been doing that. And we'll continue to encourage them to doing that. And like I said, we still need to have, more done, on the country, on the issue of security.
Trust is critical, Ambassador, and I'm wondering if we can talk about the trust deficit that currently exists between government and religious communities. What practical steps can government take in 2026, for instance, to rebuild trust with religious communities who still feel exposed and abandoned as we speak?
Well, is the rapid response to the victims who are affected by, bandits and, and attacks. Many are fully displaced, and the church can't really do it all alone. So we have a lot of displaced, faithful all over the place, especially in South Carolina. We have, children are left with um, no place to live, and women are devastated with no house or roof under their head. So many are in IDPC, locations and all that. So the government has to do more. And number one, in 2026, provide a rapid response to those victims. Very, very important. And then number two is to engage, the Christian communities and hold states responsible for the security of their states. It's very, very critical and it's very, very germane. Each state must be able to ensure security. And where the federal government is needed to back the state up, then they should do that. So it's very, very important that we do that. It has to be surveillance, and it has to be quick and rapid response to threats and imminent danger.
I'd like us to talk about the perception of Nigeria in American policy and religious circles, since you're joining us from the U.S., and how much of that perception is shaped by faith-based advocacy. In recent times, we've seen interested entertainment figures come up to advocate for Nigeria, even though they may not have stepped foot here. I've spoken with clergies like yourself who completely agree with government that U.S. got it wrong in their designation of a Christian genocide. They believe that what is happening here is not peculiar to Christians, that Muslims, if not more, are also being directly affected. But walk us through what the perception is, amongst the U.S. policy-making community, and what the average American thinks of what's happening here.
Well, again, I wouldn't want you to quote me that maybe I didn't quite agree with the designation of United States, the designation of Nigeria by United States as a country of particular concern because of what they perceive as genocide, Christian genocide. I actually said that it's a question of semantics. If it's not genocide, then what do you call it? The killings of citizens Nigerian citizens in their own soil. What do you call that? You have killings, predominantly in Christian-based communities. What do you call that? You have killings of Christians. What do you call that? See, you can't gloss over it. It's obvious. All right. So we shouldn't just go about whether it's called genocide or not genocide. The real question here is, are there killings in Nigeria? Of course. So I want to lend my voice on that. And I've always said that the government of Nigeria is trying its best. But beyond that, there is also a political, you know, how would I call it? There is a political undertone behind, this insurgent just doesn't come, you know. So the government knows where it is. The government knows where to, get it right. The government has all the intelligence. The government of Nigeria has all the intelligence to stop this. Okay, and it must be stopped. Okay, so that is the perception. I've been in Nigeria, like I told you, I was in Jos just last Friday, and I came back on Monday. Okay, and I see the fear under which people are living every single day. You can't freely say you want to walk, on the street of Jos at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock freely in some part of Plateau states, especially in the rural areas. Okay, so, and that speaks for other communities in Nigeria as well. So what I said, or what I'm saying here,
Ambassador, you know that perception is everything, and image making is great because as we speak now, U.S. has banned Nigerians and others from U.S. citizenship, green card applications, and what have you. I'm sure you're following that closely. And there are many people who are also reading between the lines and connecting the dots between what happened earlier this year and what we're seeing playing out now. What role, for instance, should Nigerian diaspora play, especially faith leaders, in correcting narratives without necessarily whitewashing realities?
Well, what I really wouldn't want to speculate as to the reason why Nigeria is designated as, or placed under, a partial restriction. If it is based on this religious, killing, of which I don't think it is. But again, I don't want to speculate. But designating Nigeria, or placing Nigeria under a strict restriction is something that we really have to engage, the government of the United States about. Nigerians are known to be very, very industrious. They've contributed economically and politically to this country, the greatness of the United States of America. Nigerians are very, resilient, and majorly they are good people, especially on the foreign soil, contributing their own quota to the development of that country and the peaceful coexistence. So the government must look, back, and I hope that in the shortest period of time, that classification will, be addressed and revoked.
The president ended with confidence in his press release. He talked about his confidence in divine providence and collective strength. And Nigerians are also talking about what they must see, not just hear, in the new year to believe this administration's commitment to religious freedom is real. Finally, in a minute, if you can, as Nigerians celebrate Christmas amid, all of these realities, we understand that things are settling and we're getting some good feedback from certain adjustments made earlier on. What is your message in less than a minute, not just as a diplomat, but as a faith leader to citizens struggling to reconcile faith with fear?
Well, the word of the Lord says that the Lord is my light, and my shepherd. So I want, Nigerians to continue to trust in the Lord and continue to trust in the nation, continue to trust, their governments, especially under this current dispensation of President Tinubu, who has been trying his best to meet these and resolve these challenges that we have.
All right.
So yes, so Nigerians should live peacefully, and enjoy the moments of this season, and
Correct.
also be hopeful that it will be better. There's going to be a better day ahead.
Ambassador Olusegun Samaye, thank you so much for talking to us on the program this evening.
My pleasure. God bless you.
That's our show today, everyone. You can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. Merry Christmas.